Hello fellow hunters and welcome to my guide on the Watchdog of the Old Lords. In this video we will see 4 builds and 4 strategies to defeat this boss. The first will be Bloodtinge versus Defiled version, that is the story version, the first version of the boss you will encounter. And then 4 different builds, strength, arcane, skill, but versus FRC versions of this boss in layer 1. All of those builds share the same idea. The main mistake you can do versus this boss is to remain locked on all the time. You do not want to remain locked on all the time versus this boss. The second thing that everybody knows is because everybody's discussing this sort of strategy, and what remains always true is that you want to attack the legs. Every time you hit one part of a boss in Bloodborne, you actually deplete an invisible meter, and eventually those limbs or those weak spots will break, and that will open a broken stance moment for the boss, and then you will be able to attack him and do more damage during this time. So each of the leg has its own health bar essentially, and so breaking them sequentially will allow you to guarantee that you can open the boss for a few free attacks that cause a little bit more damage. Now, you can see that what I'm doing is usually when I'm far from him, I lock on. Especially if you have a build that has some range capacity. But quite frankly, it's really not a big advantage against this boss. Of course, this part, for example, with the Simon Bowblade, of course it's a massive advantage. You can do the whole freaking boss like this, but paradoxically it's actually more dangerous to remain very far from him because of these fiery attacks in the second phase, but also because when you remain a bit far and toss a few ranged attacks to him, then he tends to suddenly do this charge. This is what will kill you, and this happens in two circumstances. Either you have broken his leg stance, he wakes up and you are under him or in front of him, and then he will always do that, or you are actually far from him and then he will charge you like this. So with the Bloodtinge, of course, you have such a powerful tool with the Simon Bowblade or even the Evelyn, any gun really, to pressure that it's kind of a cheat. But with strength build, for example, it's a bit different. In this case, I will show you how to deal with him without serrated weapons. So for the Bloodtinge part, there was no serration. Serration is all the soul weapons that have a form of serration doing more damage to people. Here I'm using the Beast Claw, and of course this is a strength built at blood level like 105 with like heavy abyssals, 2 heavy abyssals with 50 strength. So of course he hits like a truck, right? But you have to stay close to him and do a little bit more work than on, say, a blood tinge built like the Shikage or serration physical weapons. And that, of course, the longer you have to stay and hit him, of course, the more you are likely to deplete your stamina bar and take damage. That's the real thing that you have to pay attention to, your stamina bar. It's very tempting. This is the typical mistake I was referring to. I thought I was safe, far off, and I would try to heal. Here I would try to buff, and of course he immediately charges. Never get stuck with your back against the wall. Always try to keep the center of the arena. This explosion, as you can see, doesn't do too much damage when you are far enough. When you see him do that, attack the front legs, they break the most easily, and that's very easy to benefit from this moment, this type of attack. You can see here I have ranged attacks, because when you have a strength build, you have the Gatling gun or the cannon actually. Usually, as you have seen, I start with just the cannon and BMA. I shoot twice, and then I revert to the Gatling gun in order to do a little bit more range pressure. The idea is always the same. If you are in front of the boss, you can lock on him, remain fairly close so that you do not trigger his ranged charge. Wait for him to try to bite you with his big frontal bite, and you dodge through it. You dodge forward inside. As you dodge forward inside, you have, however, to unlock, because otherwise the camera will fuck you up. And once you're in, you hit once or twice, depending on the weapon that you have. I strongly suggest you use the transformation attack after the dodge. It's usually costing less stamina, does more damage, so it's a better option. But R1 works too. The idea is to hit two, maybe 3 times, depending on how fast your weapon actually is. Here, I'm showing you the Arcane build option. I started by showing you that I have a fire infused beast cutter that is extremely efficient, obviously because it's serrated, but it's fire, and this boss obviously is immune to fire. So an Arcane build for the Doggo, if you want to really have the best damage possible, you want to have a bolt or an arcane weapon that has serration as a bonus weapon just for him, essentially, right? Because all the other beast bosses, they're using bolts. He's the only one using fire and being immune to fire. So yeah, there are other bosses that use fire, but you know what I mean. And the principle is the same. Here I did a mistake. I was too greedy. See, I hit once and then I stayed there. You don't want to do that. Obviously, I did another mistake. I actually mixed up my my tools here because I didn't play this build for a while. Now, Arcane or not, it's the same idea. You're locked in front of him, that's okay, that's fine. He's doing that, you dodge in and you attack the leg. Then you continue at the back, but there I don't have any stamina. Stay just outside of the range of the explosion. This explosion is with the front paw, so when you are behind the back leg, you just 1-2 meters away from the back legs, you're fine, normal. And obviously, if you have ranged options with an Arcane build, then you use it because you can put pressure from afar, and it costs no stamina, which is the real strength of tools in Arcane. So use it. Now I will show you with the skill build. It's blood level 120 with 50 skill. It's a bit bizarre because that's my skill build. But I'm using the Moonlight Greatsword because basically you have the same AR at 18 strength and 50 skill that you have with 25 strength, 25 skill. Anyway, this shows you how broken physical serration damage actually is. So you buff with Bolt or with Arcane, your weapon. You eat a good old beast blood pellet that allows you to increase considerably your damage output. So right now I must be at like plus what, 50-60% damage. You see, every time I hit, it's basically at least 1000 points of damage. The poor boss has no chance, right? And this is really what happens with physical serration on strength or quality or skill build. That's really what will make your experience versus this boss very easy. But the principle is always the same. Don't be too greedy. Lock on only before you enter within the leg zone of the boss. And once you are in the leg zone, unlock immediately while you're dodging. Do your thing. Do not deplete your stamina. And get out, because there will be an explosion. Rinse and repeat. If you have range attacks, use it. Next time, we'll do the same, but this time with amygdala. Oh, amygdala. Oh, amygdala. See you guys. Bye.